Tonight we're going to have a look at finding God. Tomorrow night, finding love. On Thursday night, don't come Wednesday night, Thursday night, we're looking at finding problems. And though that doesn't sound a very good topic, it's probably one of the best topics. Please be there for it. But if you come Thursday night, you've got to come on Friday night, finding solutions, because they all go together. But when we have a look at the topic of finding God, you know, if you think about it, that's big, isn't it? If I was to ask you, what is the biggest thing that you could look for, I'm guessing this would be the answer, wouldn't it? God. Finding God. You know, as humans, we enjoy big things. I remember growing up and I had a push bike, and I liked riding my push bike to different places, and mountains were always a challenge for me. I liked to conquer mountains on my push bike. Now, back in my day, I didn't have enough money to have a 10-speed. I had one of these push bikes just with one speed on it. And I remember conquering my first hill. Boy, it was tough, but I didn't get off that bike. I managed to go all the way up. And this here is a picture of the Grampians in Australia, in Victoria, where I was born. And right in the centre, there's a hill, well, it's more a mountain, a sharp rock face called Elephant's Hide, because that's what it was sort of basically looked like. And to climb up it, you really had to have really good sneakers on. Most people didn't, but I liked the challenge. And I remember one day I thought, I'm going to go and climb that mountain. And I climbed all the way right to the top. You know, if I was to ask you, what is the tallest mountain? How would you answer that question? What's the answer to that? Mount Everest? Yep, you agree? Yep, Mount Everest. Let's have a look. Here it is, Mount Everest, which is one of a few different peaks there. It's 8,840 metres high, so over 8 kilometres high. And a lot of people see that as the pinnacle of being able to attain something, trying to conquer the unconquerable. And over 200 people have died in the attempt. But as humans, we want to try and get to that. But it's actually not the tallest mountain. If you want to find what humans know as the tallest mountain, you actually need to leave Earth. You need to travel a few thousand kilometres, probably a few million kilometres, to a planet called Mars. And you can see on the left-hand side here, there's a bump. That is the tallest mountain. It's called Olympus Mons. There's another tall mountain as well, and this slide compares the three of them. There's one on Venus, which is called Maxwell Montes. It's a little bit taller than Mount Everest, but the tallest there is Olympus Mons, 26 kilometres high, or 27 I've got there. The map, or the picture, isn't quite to scale. It looks like it's a steep mountain. It's actually a very big mountain, just with a slight incline. But you know, when I ask you the question, what's the tallest mountain? Naturally, we think within our realm of understanding. Everest. Is it perhaps the same with God? When it comes to God, too often we look for the small God in the box of religion, because that's all we know. And we miss out on the real God, who is far larger and more mysterious than we can imagine. And so often we've thrown God out with the box, not realizing we need to look outside that box. So, are you ready for our trip into finding God? Tonight, I'm going to have a look at two stories. I'm going to have a look at the story of my dad, and his story was he was not looking for God, but found him. Then I'm going to have a look at my story. Well, I thought I had found God all my life, but realized I hadn't. And then we're going to have a look at the key to help you start your journey to find God. Because it's one of the most exciting journeys that you can take. So let's start with my dad's story. As Trent mentioned, I'm a German, so guess where my dad came from? See that little blue dot? That's Kiel in Germany. When my dad was born, it was West Germany and East Germany. He was born in West Germany. Kiel was on the coastland. And his dad worked in the shipbuilding yards. And he happened to be born at a time when it was not a really good time to be born, during World War II. This photo here was actually taken about a month before, or my dad was born about a month before this event, when Mussolini and Hitler were in Munich, in Germany. My dad tells me that he remembers hearing the sirens when the bombers would come over, because being near a big shipbuilding yard, it was a prime target by the Allies. And he remembered as a young baby toddler going down into the bunkers, you know, not really sure what was going on, but it was a bit of a ferocious, horrific time to be living in. Now, this is a cute little photo. I remember going down and seeing my dad and just scanning in all these photos. This is my dad. He's 14 months old. This is still during the war. And he's actually here with a group of children in front of their apartments. And it's about the same time. Dad was about the same age, 14 months or so. He's actually the little blonde guy at the front. And you can see just all the rubble, the rubbish on the street. It was a war zone. A war zone. It's really strange though. My dad grew up as an atheist. Now you would think during these times of, you know, you don't know whether you're going to live or die, that you would turn to something supernatural, but that wasn't it. He grew up with his family. That's his eldest brother there right in the middle. He was an adopted brother. My dad's there with the piano accordion. He was a very musical, happy fellow. He still is very musical and still very happy and cheeky. And that's his older sister there. But it was at the age of 15, or a bit of a critical point in his life. This was Dad's time of confirmation. Being born in Germany, he was in a place where the Lutheran Church basically had dominance in the northern part of Germany. Now, even though my grandparents didn't really believe in God, my dad didn't really believe in God, it was just tradition that when you turned 15, you would go in the evening to night classes at the Lutheran Church and you would learn different things about the church, which is a bit of an eye-opener for my atheistic dad. Because one of the things they taught about was this guy here, whose name was John Tetzel. This guy lived a long, long time ago, I think around the 1500s. Now, Dad was learning in a Lutheran church. The Lutheran church came after this guy named Martin Luther. Now, this guy here was not one of Martin Luther's friends. You see, Martin Luther, we lived in a time when the Catholic Church was basically the church of the time, but there was many problems with that church. Martin Luther said we need to reform the church, and he did whatever he could to uplift people, to help them find God. But at that time, the Catholic Church was making major extensions to their cathedrals in Rome. They were running out of money. And so they thought, how do we get some more money? And they came up with this plan. And John Tetzel was one of the guys who carried out this plan in the place where Martin Luther lived in Germany. What was the plan? Well, this guy sold indulgences. Now, you can't read that because it's German. This was a little saying, and my dad remembers this. He tells me often about it. This is how it goes. It says, wenn das Geld in Kasten klingt, die Seele in den Himmel springt. Any Germans here? What does that mean? Look at this. If the money in the box sounds, the soul leaps into heaven. This guy, John Tetzel, said, if you want to free your family, your relatives from purgatory, if you're thinking of committing sins in the future and you want forgiveness now, just put money in this box. I will sign a letter which allows you to go and do whatever you want, and those sins won't be counted against you. Oh, when my dad learnt about that,